need to enter into a full-blown access denied era if we want to develop further than where we currently are. So let's go ahead and use developing into a high-value woman as an example. You'll understand a little bit more in depth what I personally feel like it means to become a high-value woman a little bit later on, but just know, making this kind of transition, it requires attention to detail in a way that you've never paid attention to yourself before. I mean, come on, to do a complete overhaul of your traits. Your traits are who you are, so they are the reason you walk the way that you do, the reasons you talk the way that you do. Your traits are the reasons you dress the way that you do, the reasons why you understand things the way that you do. So trying to do an overhaul to your traits, I mean, this is going to be a lengthy process. Now, obviously, we're speaking of the development process and becoming a high-value woman, but quite honestly, it doesn't matter what area you are trying to develop. Distractions are never welcome. That's why it's so important that we deny interruptions from the get-go. That means that you really need to take time at the beginning of whatever journey or process you are about to embark on. Start from the very beginning and try to pinpoint where those interruptions may take place. And these can be external interruptions or they can be internal interruptions, because both are bound to happen. What's up, my loves? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and coming to hang out with me. Of course, if you are more interested in the style, the glam, the beauty, all of that cutesy stuff, you can go over to my short form platforms. Links are down below, because you know here on YouTube, we're keeping it all about the conversation. So let's go ahead and dive into, you know what? We need to first dive into what it means to be a high value woman, or what those traits look like of a high value woman. So let me go ahead and add a little context right here, because everybody's definition of a high value woman is definitely going to differ. My personal belief of what a high value woman is someone who is taking their own personal bar and raising the standards. I had to go ahead and give that little piece of clarity, because I feel like if you guys understand what my thought process is as far as high value woman and having high value woman traits, you'll understand the approach that I'm taking with this particular topic. But yes, overall, a high value woman to me is just a woman who is elevating her own personal bar. Of course, she does not expect to be perfect, because perfectionism is actually sometimes a flaw. It can definitely hold you back depending on the circumstances. So we don't expect to be perfect. However, we definitely expect to operate at our highest standard at every given moment that we have. Now, let's be very clear. Being a high value woman does not mean that you're going to act like the word that rhymes with snitch, nor does it have anything to do with thinking that you're better than someone else. Again, this is a personal standard. Think about it like this, for an example. When we were in school, you had your people who would strive to get straight A's, and then you had your people who would strive for B's and C's and just kind of coast by. When I was in high school, I was a coaster, okay? I did probably the bare minimum. Some classes I got A's, but for the most part, I was a coaster. So if we look at being a high value woman from that same aspect, it's just a woman who prefers to strive for straight A's instead of coasting by. So in high school, I coasted by, but now I'm at a different stage in life and I want to strive for straight A's. So we've got that out the way. You guys understand now what I believe it means to be a high value woman. And so with that being said, let's look at some of these traits that a high value woman would possess. That way we understand the importance of nurturing these traits. Confidence. And you probably should have known that that was going to be the first trait on the list. But yes, having that confidence, knowing who you are, knowing your worth, having that self-assurance about yourself. Another trait would be self-sufficiency. A high-value woman can manage life efficiently and work independently as she goes along. Empathy and compassion. You are able to flip the switch at any given moment. You can put yourself in situations where you need to be extremely assertive and stand your ground and have that confidence showing from top to bottom. Yes, sprinkles, whatever, what did they call these, spirit hands, whatever, do all of that. You can walk in that room and be confident, but at the same time, you can turn that assertiveness off and you can have that compassion and that empathy for whoever you are speaking to at the moment. A high value woman is definitely going to be committed to her personal growth. You are in a marriage with self-development, okay? Like, that's how strongly it is, because you always want to see yourself pushing and growing and learning and developing and getting to that next phase. Not necessarily that you're in a rush to get to that next phase, but you enjoy being on a growth path at all times. Another trait of a high value woman may be generosity. So not only do you give with your knowledge, like you give with everything that you have experienced, everything that you've gone through, you're sharing all of the knowledge that you have so that you can help another woman into her next season. But you may also naturally be a person who has a very giving heart. So not only are you giving in knowledge, but you're giving monetarily, you're giving in gifts, like you're just sharing pieces of that big old heart that you have. A couple other traits that I want to include, I'm just going to read them kind of quickly because I don't want this to be a super long video, but a couple of traits may be you're ambitious. You have very limitless thinking, and it definitely reflects in your actions. Another could be grace under pressure. You guys have heard me talk about this before. Even when things are tough, you move in a way that does not disrupt your peace. Respectfulness to boundaries. You respect your boundaries and you respect the boundaries of others. You are resourceful. You don't wait to have the answer given to you. You go and find the answer if you need to. And lastly is perseverance. You embrace failure because you know every time that you fall, you will learn something every single time you get up. So you fall, you're learning a lesson. You fall again, you're learning a lesson. So it doesn't matter how many times you fall. It matters the lessons that you learn every time you pick yourself up off the floor. If we really want to win in life, we want to win in life, I feel like we all need to take a triple threat approach, meaning your mindset, your perspective, and your characteristics. If you combine those three things, mindset, perspective, and characteristics, I promise you, not only is it going to help you set yourself up for success in your future endeavors, but overall in general, you'll start seeing the world in a different point of view. You'll start seeing the good rather than always seeing the bad. You'll be calmer, you'll be balanced, you'll be insightful and more understanding at that point. And that right there is the reason why it's so important to nurture these traits. Yes, mindset and perspective, they can change a lot on their own, but when you add in just that little extra gas from adding in characteristics, the characteristics are really going to help like boost the mindset change and the perspective change. That way, like I said, you're a triple threat at that point. You will be unstoppable. So we've gone over our list of traits. Now, obviously, we're not going over every single trait. Clearly, there are way more traits out there that a high value woman could possess. But for the purpose of the video and not having it be an hour long, we made a short little list. So now we have to identify the interruptions. Our triple threat approach to life is not going to work until we can really identify these interruptions. So look at what interruptions are taking place right now in your life. Reasons that have stopped you from developing and nurturing those traits. Let's go ahead and identify those so we can get them on out the way. A couple of external interruptions that can be taking place right now. Dating. Sweetie, if Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome is not trying to give you a faithful commitment, let him go. Start putting that time back into yourself. That way you can start developing yourself to where you're trying to get to in life. There's plenty of fish in the sea, and I definitely can guarantee you that you will find another that's probably sexier than he is. Needy friendships and toxic relationships, we don't have time for that. You have to let those people know, look, I have to put some time into myself. Start cutting those conversations short when it's getting repetitive, when the same complaints are being made. Cut it off because you don't have time to be disrupted and distracted with those kinds of conversations, especially if this is somebody that you've already told your same opinions to and they keep doing the same thing. Just let it go. Let them do what they do. Unfulfilling jobs, sweetie. If this is an interruption, if you are constantly complaining about your job. Now, I know the job market is a little tough right now. Trust me when I say I know all about it and I'm going through it myself. But just take some time, fill out some more applications, go through a temp agency or try to get a headhunter for, on your behalf. Do something that's going to get you out of that unfulfilling job, because right now, even though yes, it's paying your bills, it's distracting you, because if all you can think about is how much you hate your job, that is disrupting every other aspect of your life. Social media, obviously a definite external interruption. Then you have bad habits and you have unexpected guests. Maybe if you have some boundary issues and you have people just popping up whenever they feel like it, that is an interruption. Interruptions can come in external form and internal form. It is not everybody else's fault why you are distracted. You are to blame as well. So some of those internal distractions may look like self-doubt, procrastination, lack of focus, negative self-talk, making excuses for yourself, complaining. Ooh, and one more, feeling sorry for yourself. You want to know what these interruptions do to your personal growth? They, for one, disrupt your workflow. So think about a time when you had a dedicated block of time that you set aside and you were like, okay, I'm going to get this particular task done in the next 2 hours. And then you're 15 minutes in and somebody calls you and you pick up the phone and then you find yourself on the phone for an hour. That is a disruption to your flow, because once your flow is broken, then you're trying to build all of that momentum back up and build all of that motivation back up to actually sit and get that one task completed. So now your workflow is interrupted, but then you're feeling rushed because you've lost all this time. Or even if it is an hour can make a significant difference if you have all of these other things to do. So you're trying to rush through to pick all of that, pick all that speed back up and pick up all that work and get it done. Well, now your quality is in jeopardy because you are rushing through all of the things that you needed to get done. Another interruption, you're struggling to stay on top of those tactical actions that you put in place for yourself when you made your 6-month goal or your 1-year goal. Your tactical actions are those daily actions that you can make that are going to help you reach that goal. Well, now you're losing focus and you're not hitting those tactical actions that you laid out for yourself. And lastly, your discipline is doing that right there. It's a little shaky, okay? You had all of this discipline at first and you were getting things done, but like I said, the more and more interruptions that are happening and getting thrown into the mix of your day, all of this can have an effect on how you move. It can have an effect on your discipline, your consistency, your motivation, your momentum, all of it. It has an effect on it. Nurturing these high value traits right now for me is so important, because when you're in a season of change and you really sit back and you reflect on who you are and how you move and why you are the way that you are, you start realizing all of your bad habits. You start realizing all of your bad traits that you possess. So for me, realizing that I do need to rid myself of certain traits and characteristics that I have right now that supported the old version of myself, I need to get rid of those and I need to make room for these new traits. And I want to take time to develop these new traits. So that is why it's so very important to deny access right now. You need to create an environment that is distraction-free, disruption-free, so that you can really take the time to develop in these areas that you're trying to develop in. So if we're in our access denied era and we are really focusing on denying interruption, that means what? That means we have to prepare for the interruption or the distraction. You have to create a distraction-free environment by setting boundaries. Learn to say no and protect all of the allotted time that you have. If you set an hour aside to go through emails and respond to comments, if you're a content creator or something like that, use that hour of time. Use all of it. Don't accept calls through that time. Don't accept text messages through that time. Put yourself on do not disturb if you need to. It is all about setting boundaries and respecting the allotted times that we have for certain things. When it comes to your boundaries, not only for yourself, but for others as well, you need to treat that like the law, okay? Treat it like law and make sure that it is not broken at all. We cannot be oblivious to interruptions, okay? They are bound to happen. We cannot stop them. They are going to definitely happen regardless of if we prepare for them or if we do not. We have to stay on track with nurturing these high value traits amidst the interruptions that are all going on around us. So how do we do that, or what does that look like? First, speak it. Maintain your development process by saying you will maintain your development process. You guys, there is so much power in the tongue. I'm telling you guys, I believe that so much. So speaking it and just making sure that you're repetitively saying it to yourself, I am going to stay on track. This is what I'm going to do. Same thing as an affirmation. Speak it to yourself so that you can stay on track. Do some regular self-reflection. Introspection is key when it comes to being personally aware, but also to stay in alignment. Maintaining balance, making sure that you're not overextending yourself in multiple different areas. When you have to cut it off, you have to cut it off. Yesterday, I had been working, not only working my 9 to 5, but I was filming all day. At 7 o'clock, I realized I have to shut it off because if I continue to film into the evening hours and edit, I'm going to be trashed tomorrow. And I have things that I need to get done. On top of that, I had to go to a football meeting. I had to still make dinner for my family, have some time with my family, my kids. So I had to learn to start cutting myself off at certain times so that I'm not overextending myself and wearing myself out. Fine-tuning those routines and habits, making changes as often as you need to so that they can reflect the highest version of yourself, because obviously we're trying to become a higher version of ourselves. So those routines and those habits have a lot to do with that as well. And lastly, definitely making sure that you incorporate some type of stress management. You definitely want to have a coping mechanism in place to deal with stress if stress presents itself in your life. Well, that brings us to a wrap on today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this topic as much as I enjoyed talking about it. Like I said earlier, yes, for me personally, I'm speaking about high value woman traits, but it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you're trying to develop or nurture in this season of your life, you have to deny access. You have to look for those interruptions, because you want to make sure that your focus is primarily on yourself, on your routines, habits, on those characteristics and traits that you're trying to update. All of that, it requires focus. So yes, go into your access denied era and shut it down. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you are in an access denied season, and tell me why, if you don't mind sharing, because I do enjoy reading the comments. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming to hang out with me. Thank you for all of your support. I appreciate it so much. Here I go talking fast. I done did good this whole video, and I'm at the end and I'm talking fast. But again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support so much. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye, my love.